What is going on, friends, and welcome back to the Coffee Club, the one and only place where our patrons decide where we're going to start our day today. And today, we're hanging out with our good friend, Joji. I could probably just call her Joe. I don't need to call her Joji necessarily. I'm just going to say our good friend Joe today. And I hope she's doing well today in the great wide world. And she has got us checking out Seb Lowe today, the song Dogs and Cats. It's only 9 months old. So this is a newer song from Seb Lowe. And I'm not terribly familiar with this artist and this band. Little, very minuscule, very little. But not enough to talk to him. Not enough to talk to the artistry. You know what I'm saying? So this is going to be a lot like, I would say like a first listen. It's always going to be a first listen because like anytime I do a review, typically I haven't heard it before unless I address it on the front side and say that I have. So it's definitely going to be a first listen today. And I don't know if I really got much else to do for an intro today, so I just want to say thank you to Joe G for being a patron member of the channel and being a member of our coffee club, and for bringing us the song Dogs and Cats today. So let's go ahead and not waste any more time. Let's check it out.
But you hate cats and you only really ever talk to lads about your mother who's a pain in the ass. Your grizzly dad, is he the only one who's got your back?
I don't feel like I started at the very beginning, so I need to give it the it's throwing my brain off. I know what he said, but I didn't really hear him say it, so I feel like it's completely throwing off my mojo today. And I don't have it turned up loud enough either. All right, let's try this again.
You love dogs, but you hate cats, and you only really ever talk to lads about your mother who's a pain in the ass. Your grizzly dad, is he the only one who's got your back? You hate girls when they harbor on the bar, it's like they beg for your attention.
I was not prepared for this to be a, what's the word? An attack on the incels. Oh man, do I love these kinds of songs. We get onto the channel. We're on the channel. We do a lot of reviews on the channel that are very, let's just put it this way. They're pro-women, anti-typical male vibes, you know. Not to say that men are terrible, but most of them are pretty terrible. So when I saw Dogs and Cats, the first thing that I thought in my brain was, I'm definitely a cat person. Dogs are fantastic. I love dogs, but I also believe, I'll just say it out loud again. I've said this on the channel before, on the live stream probably somewhere. But dogs, different kind of energy than cats give you. I got to sneeze. Oh my god. I'll have to remember to like try to mute this out, friends. I'm sorry. If I forget, I'm so sorry. All right, what was I saying? Oh man! If you're new to the channel, this is what you get with me. This is what you get from the Johnny Foxtrot channel. You get pure authenticity. You know, I don't take any of this stuff out. I'll let you see every little terrible part of my being. I don't try to hide it. Somebody said it on a video recently that I always have a cold, and I'm like, no, I just got like constant ear, nose, and throat. What do they call that? What are the ear, nose, and throat doctors called? Oh my god, I'm drawing such a blank. Sinuses. There we go. My sinuses are always fucked. They've always been this way. Okay, what was I talking about again? Oh, yeah. I'm so sorry, friends. I'm so sorry. I know, they probably think, this guy blows his nose so fucking crazy. I know. I'm a pretty terrible guy. Pretty terrible guy. Oh, man. Okay, shut up, Johnny. Back to what we're talking about. Dogs and cats. Two different kinds of energy. Dogs will pretty much give you their love off the rip as long as you're a good person, and you feed them. Cats, you gotta earn that love and respect. It ain't just given. There is a give and take with the relationship of a cat. So again, I am a little bit more of a cat person than a dog person. I have been around dogs my entire life. My family has been nothing but dog lovers. So it's not like I am foreign from the concept of dogs. But like I said, personally, the kitty friends, they're my favorites. And like I said, don't get me wrong, the dogs too, pretty awesome. But in this particular time, when we're referring to dogs and cats and birds and those, it's all these stereotypes of like men are dogs, women are the cats or whatever, right? So off the rip, they kind of paint that picture. And so it's like, oh, they're getting into the incel bag, baby. They talking to these dudes out here. Talking shit, man. You never really talk. You only really ever talk to lads. Right there is the kind of painting the picture of like, you hate women, but you never talk to women. Why is that? It all stems from a lot of the incel stuff that I was getting into. But I'm not going to throw that on everybody, right? I'm not going to throw it on everybody. But a lot of that stems from that, right? Where it's like there's so much of this hatred for women from these people who don't even hang around women. There's a lot of an opinion about what women are and how they do and what they do and how they talk and all this kinds of stuff when people don't even fucking hang around them. It's terrible, man. It's terrible. I say it all the time that hanging out with a group of women is way better than hanging out with a group of guys. A group of guys, it is just not the fucking vibe, man. It's not. You see how quickly it is when dudes be getting together and it just be turning into a dude fest, you know, and how quickly it just turns into not the fucking vibe. You know what I mean? It so quickly. Anyway, shutting up. Playing the song.
To lie about your mother is a pain in the ass. Your grizzly dad, is he the only one who's got your back? You hate girls when they harbor on the bar. It's like they beg for your attention and it never goes far. Buy them 1-2 drinks just to talk and you hate that. It's only worth talking if you're taking her back to your house with a dog and no fucking cat.
It's only worth talking to her if you're taking her back to your house. Again, if you think about the type of person that they're talking about, there's a lot of accuracy here, right? Where it's just like, oh my God. Like I said, I can think of people I have been around, you know. I have worked most of my adulthood, most of my career was in a lot of a group project kind of work, right? Never have I really ever been into like you do things by yourself kind of job. My YouTube channel is the closest thing to that. Is the closest thing to like you do it by yourself and it's not a group project. My last 2 career positions this way were especially that way, you know, especially that way. Where whether you want to be around people or not, you're going to be, and you're going to get to know them, and you're going to hear the things that they say, and you're going to hear their perspective, their view on the world, and just their overall beings. And there's like a specific person in my mind, especially with this song, that's kind of sticking out, where I'm just thinking of that specific person, where it was like every time they came around and every time they said anything, it was just anti-women. And it was like, why? He's like, what? And like you said, like in the song, right? They kind of paint a little bit of the picture of where a lot of that stuff comes from, right? Where it's like, oh, well, your mom was a bitch. So a lot of that comes from all women are bitches, you know? And so it's like, or you had a bad experience with maybe like an ex in your life, right? Where, oh, because you had one bad relationship, all women are that way, right? And so, like I said, I can picture this guy so much of like that was like his entire personality was just like saying those kinds of things, derogatory things. Now, granted, he would make a lot of those comments in the direction of specific people in his life, but it was like if you just brought up those things, it would step back to it, right? Where you like you start to realize like, wow, like this dude's obviously got like a lot of problem with women, right? And it's only good to talk to them if you think that you're going to get them to bring them back to your house. You know, honestly, those are really the worst conversations. If you're trying to like hook up and you're trying to play game, those are really the worst conversations. Those really are. I feel like just having a general conversation with somebody you're not trying to sleep with is the best ones, especially from the opposite perspectives, right? When you're like a man talking to a woman and you're not trying to hook up with them. Like, it's not even really the thought in your brain. If you ever go into some of these conversations, trust me, if you've never done it, I promise you, try it. Try it. You'll realize how much more exciting things are when you're not trying to get something from people. That's I think really the biggest thing, right? Is like, relationships are the best when you're not demanding and or expecting things from other people. And that goes for any kind of relationship. I promise you, not just romantic, but your friendships too. If you have a friend who every time that they hit you up, it feels like they're just trying to get something from you, you know how that feels. And it's the same. Everybody feels the same thing. It's unspoken energy. So it's like, yes, when you're trying to like put on game to people, it's no but the worst conversations. One, and two, the incredible, all of it's awkward because we're like now in this room together that now we have to make decisions. You know what I mean? Like, how do I respond to X thing because now that person's going to think X, Anyway, I'm talking way too much. This is what happens in the coffee club. We be getting to talking. I'm really appreciative that Joe threw this one here because again, I'm always ready for a good anti-guy song.
Talking no fucking cats. You're an annoying little sister. You can't even better look at. Your mother's in the kitchen and your dad's outside. He's playing with his children and he's shouting for his wife. You hate the way she don't make room for your lives. You hate her face and his propensity to.
Oh my God! Like every single sign is like bringing up a conversation part of it, right? Where it's like, okay, hold on. When we got into the career, like they're addressing every single sign. The ball and chain. Kitchen and your dad's outside. He's playing with his children and he's shouting for his wife. You hate the way she. The career woman. Okay, so now let's talk about the career woman for a second, right? We just went through the ball and chain with the dad and the mom and all. We went through that. The career woman. Hear what he says when he says it. The way she don't make room for your lives. You hate the way that she don't make room for your lives. Oh my, oh my, oh my. All right, friends, here we go. Here's an example. Have you ever thought about like the idea of like, I don't know, what's that show that was really popular about the 50s and the guy who like worked in the ad thing or whatever? Mad Men, career men, where it's okay for you to chase your career and for you to give up all these different things when it came to your personal relationships because your wife, your girlfriend, your kids, all those things, right? Because you were out here making money, right? You were out here trying to make a life for yourself and take care of business, right? So when a woman does that, when a woman has a career and she's the one doing the same type of things, working those long hours, trying to get that promotion, trying to buddy up to this person so that way we can hopefully get the leg up and move up this corporate ladder, you know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, it's so much of a problem for you because they're not around as much as you'd like. My, oh my, oh my, how women have been saying this for how many decades about men who work? Remember the day and age before cell phones when they weren't able to check up on them and they weren't able to see what they were really doing and they would just stumble home. You know what I'm saying? When guys would just stumble home, sometimes probably just hammered and stuff too, right? It's interesting when you start putting yourself into the other perspective. You know what I mean? When you start putting the other person's shoes on and you try to walk a mile in their perspective of what it's like for that person and what the world that they're living in is, right? I really like that whole like career woman thing where it's like, oh, well, now all of a sudden she's just too busy for you because she's got too much going on in her career life. She don't make room for your lives. You hate her face and his propensity to criticize. That's when you feel for your father at the handle of the slug. He hates cats and you're his dog. You love dogs but you hate cats. You only really ever talk to lads about your mother who's a pain in the ass. Your grizzly dad, is he the only one who's got your back? No, you love dogs but you hate cats and you never really thought to question that. You hate the cats are waiting for you when you get home. You love the dogs or even trying to say no.
to get some from the men. She said, I'll sort it. You said, no, it's fine, but really what you meant was you think she's incompetent. You hate the dinner suits, the track suits, the villains and the victims. Hate lovers and you hate women. Hate that everyone around you don't agree, yeah. But something's changing, you can feel it. Where we all love dogs and all hate cats. If you see one staring, you shoot on that. But later, maybe sooner, it'll scare you too. When everyone you hate feels the same about you. Know we all love dogs and all hate cats. If you see one staring, you shoot on that. But later, maybe sooner, it'll scare you too. When everyone you hate feels the same about you.
Interesting, man. I don't. That's an interesting thought point right there with the cat lady thing, right? Do we have a term for sad, lonely old men? I don't think so. I don't think that we do. The way that we have like put like this, you're gonna turn into a cat lady. You know what I mean? Like that, like a stereotype, right? Where it's like we have like a name for that type of person of the within those circumstances. Whether they do or do not have cats, you know what I'm saying? They would still be referred to that. You know what I mean? There's been times where I don't want to say that particularly. Well, I kind of have to now, or else they're going to let their mind wander. I try really hard not to get political on my channel, but I was going to say, in my country, there have been politicians that have made comments very, very much to that exactly, which is crazy. Like I said, it's sexist ass comments that to see somebody in a political figure make a comment to like cat ladies. You know what I mean? That just to even bring that up again, like I said, it's a stereotype. It is a stereotype that has been created, but we don't have necessarily like this kind of like name or stereotype for like sad and lonely old men. You know what I mean? Dog lovers or whatever the fuck you want to call them, right? In a lot of cases, those motherfuckers don't even have dogs in the first place. Anyway, I found that interesting because that shows a lot of the double standard right there, where like there is these negative these negative things when it comes to women, but not necessarily always for guys. You know what I mean? It is this double standard. Like, why is it okay to do that to women, but not to men, right? They was talking about the thing of the song, like, what would it be like if everybody believed what you and your dad believed? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of parallels and ties to like a lot of that comes from like your dad's opinion is kind of what drives a lot of how you are in that way. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think there's a lot of truth to when you're growing up as a boy and when you see your dad and or the men around you, the way that they treat women, I think influences a lot of how you will probably treat women. I think about this a lot too, where it's like, women will tell young boys all day long how to treat women, but a lot of them that won't necessarily listen to that. They listen to the guys around them because they see that there's these things happen or whatever for them, right? And they have these perspectives of what these guys are doing. And then they want to be like those guys when those guys aren't telling the full stories. You know, I think about this a lot when it comes to all of the people I've known in my life. And I've had some friends that were a little bit more on the side of playboys, if you will. Every playboy person I've ever known in my life, at a certain point, it gets sad. You know, they all come from this perspective of like they are kind of like the guy to be because they, you know, hook up with all these girls, or they're always talking to all these new different girls and stuff like that all the time, right? But they're all, at the end of the day, a lot of them end up being very sad and lonely people until they, you know, either grow out of those perspectives or it stays on for way too long, and eventually, again, it always eventually becomes sad. Kind of always is. It's always sad, but you don't realize that the younger you are. You know, I think that is like the truth of the youth is that the things that we believe in so strongly when we are younger is not the reality of the world. We try so hard to change it and try to do all these different things, but it doesn't really change the reality of the world. And again, so like I said, back then when you might have thought maybe that was cool or maybe you might want to be like that, that's not the reality. The reality that's it's almost like a mirage. Like what you're seeing is not really what it is. And again, like I said, it was always sad. It was always sad. You know, it just until a point where it all takes to a point till we realize how sad it really is when you just look at it and sit back and objectively analyze what's going on there. All right, what the hell is this saying? Judges begin questioning 50 men. Oh boy. Oh my God, what was going on with that? Oh boy, are they like showing us? I gotta pay attention to this. When everyone you hate feels the same about you. The Met Police has issued a safety advice in response to violence against women. Okay, all right, and then they showed that whole thing about the 50 men thing. Oh, just putting up all kinds of different stats about that particular thing. I don't want to use the word on here, but tips for women approached by lone officers. Question plainclothes officers. Call police if you question officer's identity. If you immediately danger, shout out a passerby, knocks on doors, wave a bus down. I don't want to get into a whole different conversation. Man, it is a hot day today, man. I'm sorry. I don't want to get into a whole different conversation about why police should be dressed as police and not undercover, because that's a whole different conversation. Like I said, from a male's perspective, guys again don't think about being attacked. Guys don't think about some random guy coming up pretending to be an officer saying that they need X, Y, and Z, right? When you're impersonating and it's not even real. You know what I'm saying? Like, you see how quickly that could turn into a major problem for people? How impersonating an officer, you know, can get you to potentially detain people. You see what I'm saying? It's fucking fucked up, man. Okay, all right. We're not going to go down that path today. But again, they're showing all this different stuff in here when it comes to, like, oh, boy. How much? Look at this right here, right? How much has been reported versus prosecutions and convictions. Look at the percentages of that, man. That's insane. That's insane. And I know that a lot of times, like, and that's the thing, is I think in a lot of times with a lot of these cases, and don't get me wrong here, because statistics will show whatever that you want to go find them with, but I'm pretty sure in a lot of cases, these are a lot of times happen by people that you somewhat know. They're not like complete strangers. It's something that you know what I mean? There's way too much of that happening as well, where it's like somebody showed me something the other day. I know I'm talking way too much. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. If you're hearing this point in the video, I appreciate you for hanging out. Somebody showed me something the other day that they were like, oh, I became friends with this person because I knew who they were via I frequented the same location of something, right? And then all of a sudden that person started sending them like super phallic reels and like videos in their direct messages, where it was like, man, it's nothing sacred, dude. At what point do we as men grow out of some of these things, man? I feel in that moment I was like, I feel so bad for the fucking women of society, where it was like, man, there's just so many fucking creepy ass dudes out here that just do shit like this, where it's like, friend request, okay, cool, maybe they'll be normal, and then all of a sudden time goes by, DM on some mad pornographic phallic shit. Not their dick. They're not sending a straight up dick pic, but they're sending like other shit that's like they're testing the waters, and you know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. Where it's just like, what are we talking about? Why did you send me this? When you start thinking about any of those things, like, why did you send this to me? What? I'm gonna ask those guys. I gotta say it. What the fuck do you think is gonna happen when you send those kinds of things to somebody? Do you think they're gonna respond back with like, "Oh yeah, come on, daddy, like I love that shit. That turned me on that you sent me that." You know what I mean? Like, I wish that was your dick type vibes. You know, what the fuck do they think that is gonna happen? You know what I mean? God, this shit just makes me so fucking angry. Like I said, like, you know, like a friend showed me some shit and was telling me a story about that, and I was like, does it just never stop? It doesn't matter how old you are. It just never stops. Like, that's fucking insane. I always sit there thinking to myself, I'm like, well, hopefully, you know, not to say that they were old. I'm not saying that at all. But when you're not fucking like 19 anymore, when you're not 25, like 22, 23 years old, you would think that at a certain point, like, that would stop. But it doesn't. It's fucking disgusting, man. It kills me. I'm glad Joe put this one in here today because I feel like, again, you know, having one guys singing about this and talking about this subject is important because it's not enough for just women to tell their stories. I think that guys also have to talk about this and talk about how these things are crazy and it's wrong. Like, you know, it's sad because, you know, I think we as people are always looking to connect with people. And when you feel like you connect with somebody on something simple, like again, I'm going back to those scenarios, right? Of talking about those work environments I was talking about where it's like a lot of group project. You and these 6 other people are going to do this project, you know, and you're going to do this for 12 weeks. And you're going to figure it out together and run different shifts in order to be able to obtain this. So, like, you're going to be interacting with these people. You're going to want to find some common ground. And you do because you're at work and you don't talk about certain things because it's not politically correct to do so. Because it's a workplace. We shouldn't be getting into certain subject matters. Then all of a sudden you become friends with these people. Then all of a sudden they start sending you those reels and those different random things where you're like, damn, man. I was really hoping you wasn't like that, you know, and like, you know, I feel like especially for us in the States, right? A lot of this is racist humor, where that is what I've gotten the most in my life is they almost like sneak into your friendship and then all of a sudden they just drop a little racist joke in your lap, just a little, to see how you respond to it. And I've had a lot of conversations with people. I'm way too on a sidetrack. But yeah, I was going to say that, like, in a world where we're looking to connect and how easy it is to connect over something simple and how we hope and we pray that these people have good intentions, that these people are the people that we think they are. And it's just really sad how much of humanity is not necessarily the way that we would think it is, but it seems so common to us of like how people would just interact with each other, even with strangers. I feel like this entire conversation is just, it's all the same. It's all the same this way. I don't have these issues with my female friends. I don't think I really ever have. I'm like, has there been times where I've had friends that crossed lines where I thought there was a platonic relation? You know, I thought we were just friends, and those other people might cross a line sometimes and now ruin what we had. Absolutely. But just think about how much that happens the other way around, where the guy is the one who tricks you into thinking that we're just friends, and then all of a sudden he's trying to sleep with you. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't happen a lot. It does, but it does not happen as much as often that way as it does where the guy is going to trick that girl. You know what I mean? Like I said, I have a couple of examples where our friendships were never the same after that, but that is mostly not the case. Like I said, it is just because you can have an example doesn't mean it's the every example. But again, unfortunately, when you just start talking about statistics, look at these statistics. That right there tells you that the amount of times that guys will try it and get held accountable for it is a low percentage. It's the same fucking thing on the other side, man. The amount of times that someone's going to Women don't send just unsolicited nudes to men. It doesn't happen. It does not fucking happen. If you could give me an example of anybody that has ever gotten an unsolicited nude from a woman, I would say that you are a very rare person. It is not that much of the reality. But I can promise you, 8 out of 10 women that you'd ask have gotten an unsolicited nude in their lifetime. I promise you. It's absolutely insane what people do on the internet. It's crazy. And the thing is, it's like, people thought that this only happened with the internet. It happened long before the internet too, man. Like I said, this R word thing that's on here, I need to get this off the screen because like this is just not good for my brain to just kind of be like staring at that, I think. But before everybody had cell phones, could you imagine how much of a problem that stuff was? I think about that all the time when people are like, oh, women don't really get catcalled like that anymore. Because everybody's got a fucking phone. That's why. Like, it's not that, like I said, I could literally go on all day about this, man. It gets me frustrated. And like I said, I'm just kind of excited today because it's like, it's finally a guy talking about it, not necessarily a woman talking about it. So like when women talk about it, I feel like my perspective, I have to be a lot more really mindful, I think, when I'm going into like how I'm trying to talk about those subjects, because I don't want it to seem like I'm taking away from the things that they're saying or trying to disprove anything that they're saying. When guys are bringing this subject up, I feel like it's a little bit easier to talk about because I am a dude. I've been around dudes. I know how dudes interact. I know how they do it. It's disgusting. It's like I said, it's disgusting, man. It really is. Like this concept of these guys out here talking about how they can't find good women. That's such a crock of shit, man. I would think that naturally our female companions are just better people than we are. Now, I'm not saying that every female is a good person. It's just that way every guy isn't a piece of shit, right? It's the same thing where there's always exceptions. But I think when you look at like the percentages, I think women are a better species. I think that they just are. I think that they just naturally are better human beings than we are. I think that we as guys have to make it almost more of a conscious effort to try to be better than what society basically like teaches us is okay and what is like just normal for us guys to act like, you know? All right, guys. This is going to be the longest video I've done all week. So shout out to Joe G. I could see why she slipped this into the playlist like ahead of time, where she was like, I don't want to forget. Let me just go ahead and throw it in the coffee club right now. So it's just there for when it needs to happen. So I think today was the perfect day for a friend. So much so I don't even got no more coffee. I got like 2 sips left. You know what's crazy too, man? You know what's crazy too is like I started off this whole thing with a statement about dogs and cats in general, and I feel like it's almost too on point with the subject matter of the song. We all love dogs and we all hate cats. What I talked about in the beginning was how dogs are, as long as you do the littlest of things, those dogs will fuck with you. But with cats, you have to earn their trust, and there is a mutual relationship building that are happening with cats. And I think that is very true when you equate that to dogs being men and cats being women. that you have to have a constant set of trust in order for you to continue to build relationships with cats, with women. And with dogs, we all just love them, right? We just naturally love them because they want so badly to love us. They want, and as long as we do the littlest of things, they will love us too, you know? But if we all don't fuck with cats because they don't just naturally want to be with us. They don't just naturally want all of our attention. They don't, the give and take isn't worth it for some people. They're not willing to give parts of themselves in order for that cat to care back, which is the whole point, right? Is like, guys just think because I want, I get now. You know, we could get into this whole conversation about the red pill universe. They had the one guy on there. I'm pretty sure, I don't know who he is specifically, but I'm sure that was supposed to represent that, right? Because they put incel, and then they put him up there right afterwards. And when you think about that, you know, the Manosphere doc I had watched, I could talk about this thing for hours, man. I could talk about the crazy stuff that those guys say, and the messaging they put out there is insane. Right after that, they put up like a woman that was like, you know, we're not allowed to speak. That's what a lot of that manosphere shit was talking about in that doc, where these guys are like, oh, I'm the man, they're my woman, they do what I say, I dictate when we have sex, and they speak when I allow them to speak. If you think that is like how it just should be, I don't really understand what planet I think that you're living in. I think you're living in a world where you're, one, not around a lot of women, and you're around a bunch of other dudes just in the same echo chamber, and you're all out here without women, with no women around, discussing, hey, this is how the world should be, just because this is how I want it to be. You know what I mean? In this perfect world, I would just have some beautiful woman that would never talk to me unless I wanted to talk to them. And they would cook and clean for me, and they would do all these things to take care of me, and I could sleep with them when I wanted to sleep with them, and they're just there for me. That is the problem that we live in today, is we as humans are so naturally selfish. To give into our selfishness this way is not the path, man. It's not. You have to push against that. Everything is designed for you. Everything is not designed for you. You know, it's put yourself in other people's positions. I think it's such a simple concept when people think about, like, if you have a daughter, a sister, or whatever, like, again, one of these people who you didn't hate, they weren't a bitch, right? Like, these people these women that you actually cared about, right? That's why I look at the daughter perspective, right? If you don't care about your daughter, that's a whole different conversation. But would you really want another guy to treat them that way? You know what I mean? It's like very simple concepts where it's like trying to put yourself in those positions of like, is that how you would want the average guy to treat your daughter or your sister or just any woman that you cared about? Like, is that how you want them to be treated? Is that how you want their everyday to be? Is that's the state that they're living in, that they have to worry about undercover police officers coming up and impersonating people, impersonating these kinds of people and stopping them and, you know, frisking them and checking this and that, and all of a sudden, like, you know, you're under my control now, and then all of a sudden things get out of hand? You know what I'm saying? Guys don't even think about that stuff. You don't even think about that. The only time you think about potentially getting the R word happening to you is when you go to jail. As a society, that's the only time we think about it. It's like, oh, well, as long as I don't end up in prison, then that will never happen to me. That is not how women live. Women are like, as long as I'm not alone in the world, maybe it won't happen to me. You know what I mean? All they have to do is be alone. We've had conversations about this, about going to like dark alleys and stuff, and how there is such a difference when a guy walks down a dark alley by himself and when a woman walks down a dark alley by herself. It is not the same fucking thing. It is not the whole like, well, just mind your own business and everybody will leave you alone. That's not the case, dude. That's not the case. Again, I'm a fucking veteran who went to war, and I'm a pretty statured guy. I can take care of myself in a lot of situations, right? And a lot of times people don't want to just naturally mess with me, even if I'm alone. But that being said, it is still kind of scary to walk by yourself down the street at night, because if you got two of y'all, especially if y'all got three, I'm fucked now. I'm fucked. You can rob me, you can beat me up, you can do whatever the fuck. It's probably going to happen because it's just multiple. Now, again, not every woman is someone who's been to war, someone who was in the military, someone who was also 6 foot and, over 200 pounds. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, that stature and all that, like, I'm not going to fuck with that person. Like, it doesn't exist for 99% of women. You think about how many women in the world where you saw them and you're like, damn, I wouldn't fuck with her because she would kick my ass. Tell me how many times that's happened to you in your life. Tell me, because it hasn't happened very much. Most of the times when I've thought that is I've seen them from a distance on TV. You know what I'm saying? Maybe like a UFC fighter. Maybe like the girl from Game of Thrones who's like 7 foot tall. I've never seen her in person. But if I saw her in person, I was like, God damn, like that woman could kick my ass, yo. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not, it's not normal. It's not normal. So like, we as men have to think about, what is it like for women to walk around in this world day after day, night after night, especially, right? And that's why I love songs like this, because it's not only just addressing, I think, things like major conversation things like assaults and stuff like that, and how that happens to women, still way more than it ever should have. It should be at zero, right? You know, we as humans have enough of a brain capacity that we should not be hurting other people. We've all learned to keep our hands to ourselves. When did we stop caring about that? When did we stop learning to keep our hands to ourselves? You know what I mean? It was all taught to us in kindergarten. It's all the very first thing that we all ever learned in most situations was keep your hands to yourself. People don't like it when you're in their bubble. Don't ever infiltrate somebody's bubble. I don't give a fuck if somebody was giving you invite me eyes. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. It is always probably the better thing to just ask. You know what I mean? Especially if you're trying to make that move, if you're trying to like make that first kiss or cross those lines, ask if it's okay. As a guy, ask. I promise you, it ain't gonna kill the fucking vibe. It is. I promise you, it's not gonna kill the vibe. If anything, it'll make them feel that much more trusting of you because you actually have thought about it and you actually care and you actually put yourself in a position that most guys don't even think of. Fucking hell, man! Like I said, I could talk about this shit all day, man. I really could. It just this boils my blood. And I remember one time, shout out to my man Sugar Free. I call him Sugar Free, but his name's Super Sam. Super Sam's Super Performance Encore. He's another YouTuber out there. You should definitely go check him out and give him some love if you haven't ever heard of him. But Sugar Free asked me one time. He said, "Hey Johnny, like, he didn't say it. He didn't ask. He just made a comment. He's like, I didn't realize how much you cared about this stuff, man." And the way the way I responded to him was, I'm like, dude, I went to Iraq in 2010. I didn't really say all this, right? But this is more the full part of the story. I went to Iraq in 2010, and you get told one thing when you're going over there to go fight for your country. And you see life, and you see way of life, and you see how people are living, and you see how you lived, and you just put it all the pieces together, and you start realizing that, man, like, everything is not as black and white as people say it is. You know, and when again you start putting yourself into, like I said, I was literally taught to put myself into the other person's perspective, and in order to better analyze the threat, you have to understand the enemy in order to be able to understand how to defeat the enemy. You know, my job was to be an analyst. My job was to understand every single angle of it. My job was to put myself in other people's fucking shoes. You know, and so you start looking at these other people and you're like, God damn, man, like, I wonder what these people think. I'll never forget reading this sit rep where these people in Afghanistan thought that our helicopters were dragons because they were so far out of the realm of today's society that they were so secluded from that they literally thought that our helicopters were fire-breathing dragons. That's what they told the people the interpreters when they talked to them. And then we've heard about these dragons from old, and we finally have seen them flying through the sky, you know, because again, they were so cut off from the world, and that was the enemy. That was who we were fighting. Was people like that. And so like, but like I said, I didn't tell him in the moment, but I loosely told him basically what I'm going to say now is when you go to war, you start to gain a little bit of perspective, and you start looking at the world through a different lens sometimes. And I feel like this is one of the things that, like, when it comes to things that I have cared about very strongly ever since then, like my feelings about this have only gotten stronger throughout the time, man. I spent the better part of like the last 10 years just listening to women tell me the same stories over and over and over and over again, and how much there's similarities in their lives, even though they were all from different places and different walks of different everything, were so similar in so many ways. And you just start seeing like, damn, that is the patriarchy. How it hits you just in no matter where you're at, man. It all just hits them in different ways. So yes, it's one of those things where, again, like, I don't know why this is. I guess I do know why it bothers me so much, but I just feel like you got to see things for what they are, man, not for what you want them to build, what you want to believe that they are. And I feel like this is one of those conversations where just because you may not be part of the problem doesn't mean that there's not still a problem. That's, I think, the bigger conversation is like, just because you might not be that guy doesn't mean that you probably don't know somebody that is kind of that guy still, that still makes those kind of comments, that still does those kinds of things. And you got to call it out when it happens. I remember the last time that I had to say something to somebody. I remember I had a friend saying something along the lines of, and I thought this was absolutely insane, and I never thought I'd hear them say something like this, but they said they were talking about hooking up with their girlfriend. And that's what I'm saying. Anybody that even said this about their girlfriend at the time. She couldn't make me come, is what he said. And I was like, that's such a sexist perspective. It's her job to make you come. Like, and that's what I'm saying, man. Like, no matter how much progress you think you've made, there's always more to learn. We're not perfect dudes, man. We are people who have been ingrained to believe this stuff. The patriarchy has been pretty strong for a long time. And no matter how pro-women and how much of a feminist you might think that you might be, every once in a while you still say some sexist ass shit. You still have some sexist ass thoughts, and it's not okay. Somebody's gonna tell you, like, yo, dog, I think you're looking at that all from the wrong perspective, man. All from the wrong perspective, because now you're looking at her like a sex toy. Right? Now you're treating people like objects, not like people. You gotta call it out, man. You gotta have these conversations, because, or else we're just, I feel like to remain silent, you're almost remaining like you're co-signing it. You know, you're doing that thing where if you don't say anything against, you're basically saying that's okay to do and say. So I think that's all I've got for this one today, friends. I definitely want to appreciate Joe again for getting me talking today. I need more coffee badly. I know what y'all are thinking. You're like, man, this guy talked for fucking how long? And he goes, he needs more coffee? Yes, I need more coffee. The one cup was not enough today. I went through the whole damn cup talking today. Anyway, let's give this a boost low. Oh, fuck. Let's give this a boost love real quick. Make sure you go give Sub Lowe some love. Definitely want to appreciate them for putting out a song in the world like this, right? Because, like, again, like, there are good guys out here in the world, man. There are. And I feel like Sub Lowe is an example of this, right? It's like, for you to go and write the song means that you thought about it. It means you've at least listened to the conversation to enough to create art to put there in the world to hopefully make a little bit of a difference. It's a little piece at a time. It's a little bit at a time each and every day where we can chip away at this, because it's not going to happen just overnight. It's got to be more guys and more bands are standing up and saying these things. Like I said, it can't be just women. Because as soon as it's women, they're just going to write them off being like, these are women's problems, not necessarily problems that men need to even think about. And that's, I think, the bigger problem is, like, guys don't think about these things, and they should, because and even if you are married, have you know, and all this kinds of stuff, like it doesn't um it doesn't mean that your job is done talking about it, you know. um just because you have a good relationship and you and your wife and your girlfriend or whatever, like, don't act like this or we don't have these issues, doesn't necessarily mean that the work is done, right? It's a constant battle, because the war is still going on out here, even if you're not actively fighting in it. Like, you know, when it's your time to show up and spear somebody, you kind of need to do it. You know, I think that's more or less what I'm trying to get at here. It's like, when the time comes, make sure that you call some things out. Because I was just having a conversation with a friend the other day when it came to, like, if anybody was to ever cross lines with you in public settings based on like what they do, right? I think the best way to combat that is to be loud and boisterous about it. I think that all women should. You know, if a guy does something weird and creepy to you in any type of environment, I think that you should be loud and boisterous about it, to let everybody in the room know that you really just thought that you could do this to me. You know what I mean? Like, is that really what we're doing right now? You need to call it out in the moment. And it's difficult for them because they're the victim. We as guys need to call that out when we see it. We as guys need to say something and do something. And I think in that to change that kind of narrative. Because it's not okay. And a lot of guys still think it's okay to get that, to do things. Like, everybody thinks they're the exception. So yeah, I think that's where I'm going to leave it today, guys. I've talked plenty today. I definitely want to appreciate Joe again for the song today, the discussion around it all, and until next time, friends, be kind to a stranger. Tell somebody I love them, and if you haven't joined the Foxtrot family, there's always room for you.